It's time to dive beneath the surface and into the minds and hearts of your favorite celebrities and pop culture icons. Welcome to Up and Adam.
Hey guys, what's up? You're watching Up and Adam. My name's Adam Knoll. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm the guy bringing you guys all the weekly interviews and recaps from your favorite celebrities and pop culture influencers. But for those of you who do know me, you know that that's not why we're always here, right? Guys, today's one of those days. Actually, we're here for one of those reasons. Today, we are here to talk with Monte from Say Yes to the Dress Atlanta. I am so excited about this. Normally, I get my interviews all by myself, but I have to give this one to Jason. Jason hooked this up, and I couldn't be more just thrilled for this. So before we get started, you know how this works. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell, and let's dive right in. Hi, Monte.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning.
Good morning. All right, Monte. Well, I just want to start off and say for anyone who might have been living under a rock these past few years and who wouldn't know who you are, would you be able to give us a little bit of your backstory?
Sure. So, name Monte Durham, of course, and I'm probably best known now, before 10 years ago, but now for my role as fashion director on Say Yes to the Dress Atlanta on TLC. So we were filming, 10 years, a lot of episodes. So we had a great time. So
does it feel like it's been 10 years?
When you're working with your best friend and you're doing your job, I mean, that was my job, dressing brides. So I didn't really notice the time jumping by like that. I mean, it was pretty much amazing. And Lori and I are best friends. So, anytime I'm in a room with her and we're hanging out, so it makes it fun. A lot of work, but it makes it fun. It took us probably a good 2 weeks before we got used to the cameras. You know this, but they're right up in your face and you can't look at them. You have to look away. So it took a while for that adjustment to happen. So that was probably the hardest part of it. We were not scripted, so.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you too, is, this has to be kind of, I've been around it. I've seen it, especially with Bravo. When they do stick the cameras in your face and they have different cameras at different angles,
right,
and they just want you to act so normal. Was that an easy transition for you and Lori to start doing that?
No, because, you have to stand at different positions so the camera can hit you. And I'm like, oh my God. And they're like, okay, don't turn so much this way. They never over directed us as far as what we were saying, our subject content. But positioning, as you know, lighting and the camera. And the camera guy, literally, the camera is literally 2 feet in front of you. And you're not supposed to look at it. And you're like, okay, there's this big circle and it's right there. And you can't look at it. That was probably the hardest thing. And getting used to being followed around with the camera. I mean, there's somebody always over your shoulder or in front of you. And even though Lori's store is huge, 3 stories, it's massive. It's a tight space when you have 2 on handheld, 3 on sticks, and 1 in the ceiling. So, and you're told not to be aware of it. But that was the most challenging part.
Which is so interesting because you see that you and Lori became pros at this. Obviously, you have had the show for such a long time now, but then you see these brides come in and they seem like they've been doing it their whole lives. The brides that you put on camera, they just walk in and they own it. They're interesting. They're funny on the confessionals, the interviews.
Right. You know what? We attribute a lot of that to us being Southern. We're hospitable, we're easygoing, we like to have a good time. So we like to make everybody feel welcome. And, our biggest challenge sometimes is getting the bride at ease. And if you do that with a warm welcome and like, hey, no worries, we've got this day, we're going to find you a dress, we're going to find that. And I think that puts them at ease. Plus, you got to remember the entourage and the bride. That mic is only, as you know, maybe an inch long, and they pin it into you. And the backpack now is so narrow and little. You put that on, and they forget that they've got it on because it's so lightweight and so narrow. So And there is probably 6 cameras on at all given times. And the producer, of course, has an ear to all of it. So if you and I were talking about something and the bride stepped out and I would turn to you and go, God, who picked out that dress? She would be able to say, bring up Adam's mic, bring the camera in on him and Monte, let's watch their reaction. So that's how you get, and you just forget when you're talking that you're on film when you're sitting down because you don't see the camera. It's in the ceiling. You know?
Especially when you're just doing your job.
Right. Yeah, we're just on our job and the family's just sitting there hanging out. They get a little more, and you'll see a little more of their reaction when the bride's on the runway, because that's when the handhelds come out. That's when they notice all the cameras around them. But then we focus them on the bride, and that pretty much makes them at ease as well.
You know, I have a question, and I wasn't even going to incorporate this into this, but it just kind of crossed my mind now.
Okay.
What would a normal bridal consultation, what would the duration of that be compared to one that's being filmed?
A normal one, depending upon which day you come in. I mean, if we're busy, then they run about an hour. Right on a Saturday, we try to do an hour and a half for each bridal appointment. And then during the week, if you're coming in and we're not busy, that's why I tell everybody, come in on a Thursday. You know, we're open late. Come in. The salon's not as busy in the evening, and you're going to have the whole salon, and you know there's not that many brides on a Saturday. Of course, everybody's going to be on the runway at one time. So I would say average probably an hour to an hour 45 for that appointment for a bride coming in that's not being filmed. If you are being filmed, then our call time is usually 8:30, 9 o'clock. We're in that time zone. So the bride comes in early. They do the pre-interviews, you know, in the pickup room, and they get to know her and her backstory. And then they send her upstairs, and then Lori and I join about 9. We're finished probably by 2 o'clock. It's a lot of hurry up and waiting. She's trying on different dresses. You know, you may only see 3, but she may have tried on 10, right? And then they have to do post interviews. And then the bride goes in and talks about her experience, because when she walks away, they're done filming. They don't bring her back. Lori and I are there. So let's say you and I filmed in May, and they're getting ready to air you in the October segment. Then they'll bring Lori and I back in, and we sit in that room and we tell the story together. And we're good about remembering the brides. They'll put her photo up, but we're pretty good about remembering who we film with and what the situations are, so we can speak to that relatively easy. That's why I'm always in the same suit. So if I film with you in May and then we're doing something in October and I have to come in, it looks like it's all the same day.
Wow. Okay. And that's fun little tidbits for anyone who, you know, doesn't really know how this works. It's
Right.
really fun to know how it works behind the scenes.
Yeah. And Lori and the girls, they let them change their black dresses because it's not as noticeable. But maybe in the guy, you know, I stand out a little bit. So last season, the black turtleneck and the Tom Ford glasses, I was trying to give myself a new genre, the wide-legged pants, the Gucci belt. So I was trying to step out of that suit mode for a little bit. It made it easy to mic. That was great.
Well, I was also going to ask you, you know, obviously when you film for a new season, you probably film, and this is just me guessing, is it
Okay.
4 to 6 months out of the year for that season?
Yep, you're right. Mm-hmm.
And then,
And the thing, you know, I live in Virginia, so I don't live in Atlanta, so I fly back and forth. I don't have a home in Atlanta, so I fly back and forth. And the thing about that is they schedule the bride because they've got to get the bride to come in during the week. We film maybe a Sunday, but mostly we film Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and sometimes a Friday because the salon is getting busy then, and it's challenging. So I fly back and forth. But yeah, we can be out because they've got to schedule these brides. And we know nothing about them. They are vetted through the production company, and they have a scout looking and trolling the sites and seeing who's got engaged and what the stories are. Plus, we get a lot of applications to be on the show. So they vet those. We know nothing about the brides, and we are told nothing. So when we meet them, you're seeing us meet them for the first time.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And, you've obviously, again, like you said, you've been doing this for a while now, but no one anticipated having the coronavirus hit, this pandemic, being quarantined. How has that affected?
It really has affected. We went dark, as you know, that's a term they use, lights out on the set. We had just finished filming December, a year ago. And so we were airing in January, and then we aired in January. And then, it takes a while before you get back in sync and before the network TLC lets us know when we're green lighted to film the next season. And then the pandemic hit, So then March came, and they pretty much shut down all production for our team in Atlanta. And they have yet to release a date or green light for us to start filming again. And as you know, in the midst of that, I've opened a hair salon. So now I'm a little busier than I was before. So it's crazy.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. And I wanted to talk about that too, because when we talked previously, you said that you have this new project and you just opened a salon. How's that going? And
could I picked any? All right. So originally it was supposed to be opening in May. So we know what happened. I was in New York on I was up there March 6th through March 9th. When it hit March 9th, when I was leaving the city, is when everybody all of a sudden just elbow bumping and people were standing at a distance already. So that was amazing. So I come back, and it's a new build. So I'm inside of a new building in historical Old Town Alexandria by the waterfront. So it's condos. Anyway, everything got pushed. All of a sudden, production stopped on that. They couldn't get supplies. The wallpaper I ordered came from London, so that was held up. The equipment I ordered, but it drug on. So we didn't open until September, from a May date till September. So I was struggling trying to keep the architect and keep the design team that was working with me busy and trying to find stuff. But, they're working on other projects, and it was challenging. And unfortunately, 12 days prior to the opening, my father passed away. So I was dealing with that and hospice, and it's challenging because we could not take him anywhere. So in the hindsight, it was great. He was able to finish his journey at home, so surrounded by family. So it worked for us, but it was challenging to do that. And the salon opened, and 2 days before the salon, the painter pulled out the sprinkler system, so we had a flood in the salon 2 days before. It's like, oh my God, what else can happen? In hindsight, it was good. It kept me from going into a little bit of a mourning state for my father, which we have been able to do now. But God rest him. So all that being said, so you got a pandemic. You're running 5 months behind schedule. You're coming into cool weather, which always shifts sales, and you're in an election year. So can I line up anything else to jump over a hurdle on? But I am beyond happy to say that we are doing great. The salon is a great buzz. We've been interviewed by Forbes magazine and all the Washington magazines and local magazines. We're kind of new to the scene. The way I designed it, it's in components, 4 components. So we're able to operate at full capacity. There's 3 in the design team studio, and then I have my private room. So there's only 4 of us. But the walls are 5 feet wide and 7 foot tall. So you're in a cubicle. So you have privacy and you have intimacy. I wanted a very boutique feel, and who knew that was going to work in my favor? So the city of Alexandria came down and gave me the green light to keep operating during this. And I didn't have to separate anything because we're already in components that are separated. So the clients feel comfortable and safe. We feel comfortable and safe, and we follow all the guidelines. So it's working, and we're doing pretty good. Let me knock on wood there.
Well, first I want to say, obviously I'm so sorry for the passing of your father.
Thank you.
And wow, it seems like 2020 has had high highs and low lows. I was going to ask you, but you already answered this. It's kind of insane the fact that you didn't anticipate these COVID regulations for the building, and it just worked out in your favor to still be able to operate at full capacity.
Right. Yeah. And the city, the building is a private owned condominium. And so the condos above me, there's only 18. So it's very boutique itself, right? And they had very specific guidelines of who was going in, what was going in, the service that was going to be offered, the decor, the genre that I was going to bring into the salon. So I was very fortunate that they never tapped me on the shoulder to check on any of that. They just gave me carte blanche, let me go in there, and we were able to create the salon that I really wanted. And everybody's happy. The employees are happy. The clients are just ecstatic to come in. And Old Town is it's a hamlet. So it's cobblestone street, 1,700 home, dating back to the 1700s and even further. So it's historical, and you're on the waterfront. I think it's listed 4th in the top 10 cities in the US to visit. So it's got a lot of history. So with that being said, it's a little bit of a sleepy hamlet. People get up early, but they go and have breakfast and read the paper. And so our business model has shifted a little bit because we start getting busy around 10 o'clock, and we're used to 8 and 9 o'clock appointments. But we're accommodating that, and we're shifting into it. This my first quarter, which is the last quarter, we're learning how to navigate that, so that moving into the new year, we will be able to set and get those hours and in compliance with what the guests are and the clients' needs.
Well, it sounds like you get to sleep in a little bit. You're like, just a little bit.
Yeah. I try to go in early ahead of the staff, and I'll start the laundry. I get the lights going. I overcheck. I mean, it's small. So I make sure the deposits are done. I make sure the inventory is taken in as control. So I'm pretty much hands-on. I'm not micromanaging because I hire you to do the professional jobs. I let you run your own schedule. So they work for me. So there is definitely a Monte genre in there. They all know where the chairs have to go. They know I'm a neat freak. There's no towels laying anywhere. There's no unkept any station. They know that. That was brought up to the very first thing when we were interviewing. So we're all windows. So the staff, the dress code is very specific and, black, white. And so everybody's just doing a great job. I'm so proud and happy with the team we have.
Well, this sounds amazing. And it sounds like you have, even though, again, that this has been just such an insane year, it sounds like you have a lot to look forward to and a lot of
I'm very excited. Yeah.
Oh, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was saying, the Monte, I have a hair care line that's on Amazon as well. And it's just Monte. It's in moisturizing shampoo, one-step conditioner, natural root lift is in tea taming balm, which I need to go and put in my hair. I just got out of the shower. And Everhold hairspray. So it's Monte. You get the full Monte, right? So that is doing very well. And we're excited to have that. And I'm getting ready to launch a men's line. But, oh my God, trying to get the trademarks now with COVID, it'll probably be a little while. I was hoping to have it by the holidays, but there's just no way. I mean, trying to push any paper right now is challenging. But we're up, running, doing well, and so I'm excited.
You kind of answered my question before I even asked it, too. I was going to ask you, do you have any upcoming projects that you're like super excited about, or any other filming projects, or you just said you have a hair care line? Wow. These are a lot of things that we don't know about you.
Right. And so the men's line, hopefully we'll have it by Father's Day as a goal now. I keep pushing that back. I have signed a contract with Ann Roberts Media out of LA, and we've been Skyping and trying to figure out the show for the hair salon. So we've been interviewing and Skyping, trying to get, it's kind of hard to put that together through Skype, but I plan to be in LA probably the end of next month, January. Yep. And we'll sit down and really get the format where we want it. I mean, we have thrown out a lot of deals. They are just incredible. We're just trying to figure out how to do the stack so we can present it to, the networks and figure out if somebody pick it up for a show. I started writing a book. I've kind of put that on the back burner a little bit. So, we'll just, every day I get up, how fortunate I get up every day. You're right. I get up every day and I have something to do. How lucky am I?
Oh, all right. Well, going back to the way and how we know you originally from Say Yes to the Dress, and because you have so many exciting projects coming up, and we could see you again on TV in a different capacity.
Right.
How did you even get started with TLC and Say Yes to the Dress? I mean, was it just right place, right time?
It really was pretty much that. I was a trunk show representative for a wedding designer, and Lori was one of our biggest accounts. So I was down there. I bet I was in her store every 6 weeks. And we just became fast friends. Her daughter, Molly, had a wedding. And at the time, the designer, Ravini, I was working for, we did the wedding dress. And I did the hair and makeup for Molly's wedding and styled the bridesmaids. Huge wedding. And that was picked up by Platinum Weddings. So Platinum Weddings covered that entire wedding. It was a shit show. Let me tell you, I've never worked so hard in my entire life. Oh my God. Molly Allen. Oh,
I'm guessing her. It was beautiful though.
Oh, it was pretty incredible. I mean, there was not a detail not touched from her flying that. Her train was 17 feet. So flying that dress to New York so she could have her portrait in front of the Baccarat, flying to New York so that her portrait could be taken by Baccarat Studios in front of the screen that Jackie Kennedy was photographed for her wedding. So, I mean, we were doing all this crazy stuff.
Molly had big ideas.
Well, that was kind of my idea when So Lori was trying to write shotgun on me, and I'm like, oh no, you just don't want any photographer photographing this. Let's go to New York. And so we all flew to New York and had this stunning portrait done. It's beautiful. And then after that aired, I guess someone, TLC, saw it, and they reached out to Lori. At that time, I was stepping back from doing that. I'd opened a small hair salon in my home state of West Virginia. I bought a house down there, and I thought I'd just go back and coast for a little bit and figure out what I'm doing. And Lori called and said, TLC's coming down. They're going to do a sizzle reel and some B-roll. Why don't you come? And I go, oh, no, I'm good. She goes, no, come on down. I go, you know what? I really am good. I'm good. Front of the camera was never where I was driven. I'm happy to be behind it. And she said, get your ass down here. And I'm like, okay. So I came, and that was 10 years ago.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, the rest is on TLC, right? So
well, speaking of Say Yes to the Dress, this is such an incredible story. And, by the way, every morning, Jason and I, we'll go down to the gym, and I'll do the treadmill, and I get to put the TV on right in front of me. And I swear every morning at 9 a.m., Say Yes to the Dress Atlanta is on. And
Yay!
I've watched you with your little mini me that you dressed up.
How funny was that?
Oh, that was adorable.
Yeah, that was a great one. And we shot that from the hip. The producer anybody. I just said, look, I got an idea. So because he was so animated. And he just followed right along with it. So he was great. So that's the spontaneity we were able to have. And I loved it.
I thought he was absolutely. I thought the way that you guys handled that, I mean, that was just such a fun, incredible moment.
Yeah,
and this little guy is never going to forget this. He's going to remember
it's great.
His life. And you might have even inspired him, which I'm sure you did. And then I also saw your one bride who had to look like Phaedra Parks, and everyone showed her all of these different dresses, and she's like, no, and then Phaedra comes in and shows her the exact same dress, and she's like, I love it. So
right.
I guess that was going to bring me to is my next question is, without naming any brides, what would be your most chaotic moment filming with a bride? And then I'm going to end that with a positive. What would be your favorite moment? But I want to start off first with chaotic.
Yeah, I think the chaotic one is, and it's not just a bride, it's brides in general. You know, we can fix almost everything. We cannot fix your budget. So when you come in and you're like, well, I don't have a budget. Well, we have a budget, but you know, we don't have, I'm like, no. We don't have, we can't fix that. So that's when it gets really odd and tension because, you know, you want to try on a $10,000 dress, but if your budget's not let me tell you, when you put on that $10,000 dress, it's going to change your whole life because it is totally different than that $3,000 dress. And there is a reason. And so that's when it gets chaotic and they argue with you and go, I don't think that's such a good idea. You know, and then the family's like, no, let her try it on. It's her experience. Try it on. And it's hard to step away from that when you put that on the way it feels. It's lined with silk. I mean, it's all hand stitched and, you know, they're price pointed for a reason, right? And so that would be the hardest. Or you have an overbearing mother-in-law that wants to step in and take over the show. So that can be challenging. But those are probably the worst and the chaotic kind of. But you know, we don't get bridezillas. We just try to get them, you know, into a corner. We have the bride's back. I mean, we're there to make sure her voice is heard. So I have stepped off camera and talked to a mother or a mother-in-law, soon to be, and I'm like, you know, you're being filmed. You might want to step back on this. And they're like, well, that's my daughter. And I go, okay, that's true. And sure enough, they'll call back and say, we don't want our episode to air. You signed on the paper it's airing.
Oof. Oh my gosh, I could see where that would happen too, especially because even when you're trying to guide someone and say, you know, I hope you know, right, you're going to look a certain way as soon as this comes out and it's not going to be painted in your favor. And they're like, no, this is how, you know, some people are very overbearing and controlling.
And we just let it go. And one bride in particular was pretty adamant that she wore a size 2. And you try to explain that wedding gowns, each designer has a fit, right? And they take a tape measure to us. So they're not vanity sizes. And we've been wearing knits and loose tops. So when you try on a fitted dress or a dress to fit you, especially on the bodice, they're different. And I try to explain to her and she goes, I wear a size 2 and I only want to try on mermaids. My theory is always, okay, you made an appointment to do what? Try on dresses. So why don't we try on a couple so we can see if the mermaid's what you want. And I have this thing about 3 F's, the 3 F's. You look at the fit, you look at the fabric, and you look at the fashion. So we try to match those up. So you get the 3 F's lined up, and then we can figure it out, right? And the fit, maybe a mermaid, maybe it's a ball gown, maybe it's a sheath, maybe it's sweetheart neckline, maybe it's bateau. We're just trying to figure that out for you. And the more you try on, we can see what's going to work for you. Plus, we can see which designer is going to be best suited for your look and or figure. And she was adamant. And she goes, I'm only going to, all right. I brought her mermaids. And she looks at me and she goes, really? That's not a mermaid. I'm like, okay. She goes, so you really don't know what you're doing.
Oh my gosh.
So I said, oh, okay. Well, pardon me. Do you mind sharing with me what a mermaid is? So she tells me it's really a fit and flare is what she's after. I'm like, okay, let me get that for you. And I bring it to her, and she is not happy. The sizes are wrong, and I'm trying to explain to her, you know, Mikado fits different than a crepe, a ball gown fits different than an A-line. She's not happy, trying to educate. She's stuck on 2 and this mermaid. So I said, I'm not here to upset you. I'm going to let somebody else work with you, and I'm going to step aside and work on somebody else. I want you to have a pleasant experience, and obviously I'm not giving that to you. Anyway, I go about, she sees me on the runway jacking the girls up, right? And she calls me back over. And she says to me with her finger pointing, I want to try on that dress on that mannequin. That's what I want. I want you to get that dress for me. And you know I wear a size 2, so bring it. So I'm looking at the mannequin. I'm looking at her. And I know this dress designer. A size 10 in it is like this wide, right? They just cut very small. It's just their design technique. I looked at her and I just had it with her and pointing her finger at me. I said, okay, I will get you that dress off the mannequin. I will gladly bring that to you. But I am going to be quite honest with you. The only way you are going to be able to wear that dress by that designer with a 2 in it is if we put a 1 in front of it. She was so pissed. But I know my sizes, right? I know how that dress fits. Oh, she was so mad at me. But anyway, she found a dress. She was happy, and we got her. We just had to go through all that. But anyway, so.
Gosh, I'm sure you get your own kind of little circus in there.
Oh yeah. They bring it on. I mean, it's like game on. And probably some of the most difficult is like, I don't know what I want. Sure, you know what you want. No, I really don't. Do you want ivory? Do you want a blue dress? Do you want a green dress? Do you want a black dress? Well, no, I want a white one. See, you already know what you want. You know, it's just you have to step through it all the time, and it's good. And I have 3 sisters. You're not going to throw something at me that I haven't heard, done, witnessed, seen, or been accused of. So I'm good.
Well, I know your time is precious, so I only have 2 last questions for you.
All right.
This is just to inspire anyone who's watching. Would you have any advice for anyone who would kind of want to go into the same field that you're in? Because again,
dive into it, do it, follow your passion. You know, my backstory, I grew up very poor in West Virginia in a holler. I grew up in a house with no running water and outside toilet. I could not afford universities. I went to community colleges. You can do this. Stay true to who you are. I used to look at fashion because we didn't have fashion magazines around the house. And I used to go when we went shopping, I would sit on their stools in the department stores and look at the McCall pattern books and the Vogue pattern books. I used to flip through those and see how things were made, men's, children. I took inspiration from that, and I used to go home and try to cut patterns out of paper bags. So if this is something that has tilted you in the direction of fashion, merchandising, or styling, or whatever, go for it. I mean, it's an incredible field. It's a lot of work. You meet some very talented, incredible people, and you'll work your ass off. But it's what I like doing. So there you go, right?
Just dive right in.
Make it happen.
All right. And just to end us off on a positive note, and this might even throw you off guard a little bit, and it might make you think for a second, because we've been watching you for so long on Say Yes to the Dress, and we all love you. Is there one thing that maybe we don't get to see or we wouldn't know about you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things. I'm pretty humble. I live in a small house. I do my own laundry. I have no personal assistant. As you know, you reached right out to me through Jason. I don't like people climbing a ladder. I don't like climbing a ladder. I live a pretty humble existence. I do a lot of volunteering, Capital Caring Hospice. I've been hospice trained and worked in that field for over 26 years. I rescue animals. I'm a big leader at St. Paul's, my Episcopal Church. I've now signed on to save our green spaces and parklands, and I rescue dogs. So I give a lot of things back. You'll see me running around the neighborhood, not always in cargo shorts and a t-shirt, but I'm pretty dressed all the time because I grew up with no money. So I thought if I ever get to a point where I can afford nice clothes, I'm going to buy them. I was the only boy in the family, so I wore a lot of hand-me-downs. So I think that's what a lot of people don't know. You know, starting out in a 2-room schoolhouse that your great-grandfather built, that's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. And I was bullied all through school. I was little, not very big, you know, short. I didn't get tall into college, and very effeminate and bad clothes. I was a perfect target. But it just did not dim my light. How's that? And I kept on. So maybe that's all kind of in that book if I ever get that written again. But and I don't do that to make people feel sad for me. You know, we do say yes to the prom with these deserving students, and I tell my story, and they, you see me in these suits, you see me and you think I'm flying private jets and I have chauffeurs and maids, and I don't. If you could see my house right now, oh my God. But anyway, I got to get home and clean. The windows are clean, the silver's polished, the tree's up, I'm ready to go. But yeah, and I speak to that. And the Ronald McDonald Foundation in October of 17 flew me to LA and presented me their Spirit Award for my work with underprivileged students. So, I mean, it's pretty big. Oh. And I don't do it for the awards. I do it to hopefully inspire, motivate, and encourage people to follow their path. And I try to lead my path so that people see I'm doing exactly the same thing.
Well, I mean, I think that's incredible. I just learned
You're
so
sweet
things about you. No, I mean, honestly, you just inspired me sitting here talking with you. There's so much that I didn't know about you, and you obviously you work your butt off, you give back, you have this amazing story, and it's an inspiring story. So
thank you.
I know that we're going to have a lot of people who see this, and I'm sure a lot of people know you aside from this anyways, obviously from Say Yes to the Dress and so many of the other projects that you've participated in. But I want to say, I know your time is so precious, and I thank you so much for sharing your story with me. This has been amazing.
No, Adam, and anytime, I know it took us a while to get through this, to be able to have this little chat, but anytime you just text me and we'll make this happen again. We'll follow up and see what crazy things both of us are doing.
Hey, don't tip me with a good time.
All right. Come on up here. You and Jason get up here and visit with me.
All right. Well, Monty, right. I know that you have an appointment here coming up soon. So again, thank you so much. And I definitely will be reaching out for sure.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great holiday season. Stay safe and well, and know you're in my thoughts and prayers.
You too. Happy holidays. Thank you.
Thanks for watching Up and Adam.